higher than it is right now, I will definitely increase the salary. It's called perceived value, right? So the same thing in business. If I want to increase our income right now, I know that what we should be focusing on is not the money, like chasing money, because employers, people just like to chase money instead of chasing what produces money, which is work, value. So maybe you want to double up what you do. Maybe you want to sell more. So, right? So as an employee as well, 9 to 5, I must see value as the employer. We must see value in what you're providing for us to increase the salary. I always use the example that I've increased so much salary in this office 3 months after resumption because there was excess value. I just felt like, this guy, I needed to increase his salary. So that's the first thing you do. Another thing is to upgrade yourself, which is one of the ways that you can up your earning power, is to upgrade yourself, take a course in what you do. Don't be the kind of employee that you first have to tell me every little detail about your work. Why? They hired you for that role. You should be the one telling her what to do for him. You should be the one saying, no, sir. This is the industry standard. I just took this certification and we can actually apply for this. You should be ahead of your boss because that's your call. It's your field. So don't be the time that and they are telling you how to do your work. No. Research, learn on your own. And the training doesn't have to be within the phone classroom. It could be on your computer at work when you have a free time. It could be after work, you go home and you're thinking about your work and you want to see how you can add more value to your work. So ultimately, you think you're doing your thing.
Let's see how we can bring more light to YouTube.
Your earning power by upskilling, let me put it that way. So you take a new course, you learn something. Sometimes it's not necessarily even a very
Is that there?
It could be a little thing.
Let's see how we can bring more light to Zoom.
It could be a little thing of making sure.
Hello everyone, sorry for keeping you. I hope you're getting entertained with the video. We'll begin in a short while. In the next 3 minutes, we'll get to it. Let's bring more light to YouTube.
You can't be on the receiving end of the inflation and expect to change that. You can't. You cannot
Fee, can you confirm if you see me clearly? It's a bit dull from my end.
your salary. It is the same income, month on month. Your cost of living has gone up. So every time you earn an income,
all right,
in order with your child's school, your food woman, your clothes person, the hair, the salary. So can you create a structure that allows you as well to earn something from other people's money? If it is possible, then you need to go for that. Sometimes we don't have the time to do it.
Okay, sorry to cut you short. We have that video on our YouTube channel, so you can go on to watch everything. I'd like to welcome you all to this particular IG Live today. It's good to be here again. Thank you for being followers. Thank you for your support. Thank you for coming on live with me. If I were here alone, it would not mean anything. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I'd like to say hello to Casey. I'd like to say hello to Enka, Southside. Hello, Guy. Hello, Queen, Absolute, Soft Dance, and every other person, Wale, Kenny, Victor, Ezekiel, Twin, Corey, Secure Education, I'd like to welcome you all. Thank you for joining. Please, before we go on, kindly use the arrow button by um the comments area, that arrow facing like this. Kindly share it with your friends and family. Everybody needs to hear this. So be a financial literacy advocate and join me to spread the word to your friends and family right now, even your enemies, right? So perhaps if you get rich, they stop troubling you. So share with them as well. All right, so today we're looking at costly financial mistakes that could cost you a long time in future. I don't know if a lot of you have heard my story, but actually, one of the things that plagued me for a long time before God helped me and before I was able to forgive myself was the fact that I kept remembering how wasteful I was with my resources when I had the opportunity of an income as early as 2005. So it plagued me a lot for so long because I felt like, whoa, 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 wait a minute. Because particularly because of what I do, I was able to see the possibility of what I could have done with that kind of money, with the consistency of the income and all that. So usually there's always a price to pay when we make poor financial choices, right? There's always a future impact. And the truth of the matter is, the difference between the poor and the rich is that the rich consider the poor a lot. They consider the future a lot, while the poor is always about now. So this topic is very essential because we're saying that these are things that could cost you the next 10 years on your financial success, of your financial success. Avoid them. What are these things? You know them and avoid them. Whatever you need to do to put them in place, you also do that to put those things in place. Whatever needs to be corrected, you get on to start correcting it right away. All right. So it could be costly when we make poor financial choices. I know you've been there. Maybe right now you're watching this IG live and you've worked maybe, let's say you worked for like 5 years already. And still, from the very first time you collected that first salary, and the promotions you've experienced, you're still always having money problems. That's part of the impact we're talking about. So it's very easy for us to just gloss over it and just say, okay, it's just a normal thing. No, it's not. It is not actually. So we need to look at these things and see how we can avoid them in our finances. All right. So there is always a price to pay. Yes, there's always a price to pay. All right. So, what are these mistakes that can cost us the future so much? Well, if you've also listened to me a lot, meanwhile, but before we get into it, I'd like to invite you to join our community. We built this whole platform where you can learn about money all the time. Interestingly, it's also a place where you can connect to people, network, so you can also share your views as well. Tell us what you're learning. If you take a course, for example, you can let us know how it has helped you and all of those things. We have a good number of people joining the platform, but you know, it's new and we want more people to join. So please feel free to join. I'm sure the staff will put in the link to join in the comment section. Thank you very much. So let's get into it. Mistakes can be avoided. I just shared my story and my example briefly right now. You can learn from it and decide to avoid it. So let's look at some of these things we do that can cost us the future. So one of the first things I want to say is the lack of financial planning. I've been on radio and TV a lot of times, and I always say to people that my recommendation to anybody would be that the moment you get a job and you start to earn an income, you should have a financial advisor. You should have a financial plan, something that guides what your journey, your financial journey. The truth of the matter is, it looks like planning it's not a big deal, but you don't know the power of a plan, of a financial plan, until you make one. You know, it's so easy for you to say, well, is it because they plan that they're succeeding? Actually, it contributes to a major percentage of it. Why? Because, first of all, a financial plan is a roadmap that tells where you're going and guides you there. So you don't want to, it's like playing a game of football without a goalpost. How do you know when you're winning, whether you're winning or losing? The reason why we can track and say, oh, this person is a winner, this person is a loser, is because there is a goalpost. So the question is, what is your financial goalpost? What do you measure yourself against? What's that 10-year plan? What's that 5-year plan? What's that 2-year plan? What is it that is the yardstick? And then what is the roadmap? Your financial plan is as simple as saying, I'll retire to, in the next 50 years, I am as rich as maybe I'll be worth $50 million. So you determine the end and then come into today to work towards it. I'm sure you've read The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. The first thing that Robert Stephen R. Covey says is the habit of highly successful people is to begin with the end in mind. Because something has to be driving you. You must be working towards something. Every football team comes to the football game with the goal to win. So they play to win. They, even though they may lose, but they play to win. So what is your yardstick? What is that thing that you're working towards? What drives you? Without the financial plan, you don't have a drive. Imagine you have a plan to send your kids to Harvard or a Roberts University. Those universities are quite expensive. Now, how do you achieve such a goal? Until you have that clear plan, until you have something you're working towards, you are never going to achieve much. It may look like, oh, I'm successful after all. We can live in Maitama or Lekki. We can travel for vacation once or twice a year. We're this, we're that. You think that is a measure of success, but truly, 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 you may have capacity for more, and you cannot find it out until you start to create financial plans. So you need to create a clear financial plan. It's your roadmap, right? It's something, a document that tells you, oh, the next step is to start investing in stock markets. It's something that tells you, oh, I want to retire to a bunch of real estate in this country, in this country, in this country. How do I get there? That will inform your financial choices, your day-to-day choices with your money. It will inform it. So the first thing we're covering is financial plan. See it as a roadmap. What does a map do? It gives you direction to a destination. Do you know that when you're driving and you want to use the map, you have to state where automatically it plots where you are, but you must state where you're going, right? You must state where you're going. So where are you going financially? Do you know? Is this something? Don't just say I want to be rich. If you like, we have courses of financial. In fact, if in my whole package of online courses, we have, I think, 3 to 4 videos dedicated to financial planning because it's a wide subject. I can't cover it here. So if you join the community, we have placed those courses there for free. You can go on there and take and really understand how to write your financial goals, how to work towards it, the steps you can take. Everything is there. So you can go there and just learn about that. It is so important that we dedicated so much time to it. It's always the first thing. What are we working towards? What do we want to achieve? It determines where you will invest. It determines where you work. It determines how much you save. It determines a lot of things about you. I can never stop sharing the story of the colleague I had at work in Zenith Bank at the time, who wanted to build an estate. And he achieved it in 10 years of working. But it was a plan, it was a goal. That informed how he lived. He was very minimalistic until that goal was achieved, and he achieved it. What is your goal post? What are you working towards? So that's the first point. The next, and it's always a costly mistake when you don't have a financial plan. Do you know why? I remember when I joined Zenith Bank, I'm like, who wants to do a banking job for so long? I'll just do 5 years and that's it. But I said it with mouth, but there was no clear plan on how I intended to exit that system, right? So it's not something you just say with your mouth. You must have a clear plan of how you're going to achieve it. The plan must be as detailed as you saying this is the destination and this is how much I'm going to set aside from my current income to work towards it. So I'm not just saying this in passing to you again. It's something that you must take seriously. Otherwise, it could cost you the next 10 years. Because instead of leaving Zenith in 5 years, like I made all the miles, I was there for 10 years, double, double, double. Maybe I could have started this earlier. Maybe, maybe not. But without a plan, a clear financial plan, you really can't achieve much. That's the truth. You would think that you're achieving things, but you can't achieve much. So that's the first thing we have to check. Ruby, can you please stop sending the requests? I'm not taking a live video request right now. Thank you. Number two is lack of retirement plan. And I want to spend a bit of time on this one. Let's really talk about it because a lot of people in Nigeria don't really think about it, but it's important. Why? You cannot continue to work for, you're an employee, right? You're an employee. You can't continue to work for, please use the question tag if you want to ask any question. You can't continue to, sorry, this constant request for video is distracting me. Okay, so you can't continue to be as strong as you are today, right? You'll be 60, you'll be 70, we'll all live long, and you don't want to start juggling for salary or waiting for one retirement, one pension before you survive. That's why they say old men are fainting because they're online for their pension. And we think it's a government problem, but most of the time it's not a government problem. It's a personal issue. I feel for them. I don't like that they're old and suffering, but with a simple plan, like your retirement plan, which closely links to the first point, you can actually have a retirement that is fun. Retirement is not supposed to be, oh, I'm 60 and now I cannot fend for myself anymore. No. Your youthful days right now are supposed to be the seed for the harvest you expect at that time. So, how are you investing your money now? What structure are you creating with your income right now that will sustain you in the future? For a lot of people, the future is not even far-fetched because anything could go wrong and you could lose that job and may not be able to get another one for some years. That's not what we want to happen, but what if it happens? What would you do? So we need to start having this long-term perspective to life, and this should reflect in our finance because it's always the major aspect that is the issue. We don't like that the fact that every time daddy is calling me for money, mommy is calling me for money. But you know you're repeating the same pattern as mommy and daddy, spending it all. That's what they did. That's why they are where they are, right? And then you are repeating the same pattern. Doesn't mean you don't take care of your parents. Please, you must. Because if they knew better, they would do better. You have the opportunity to know better. You better do better. Right? I don't believe in the mindset that when I'm old, my children should now take care of me. No. If I rather I'll embrace the mindset of people like I had a customer at the bank one time, and he was saving already for a child yet unborn. He wasn't even engaged. He's a young guy who made money early, and he just thought, okay, is there a way I can invest for my children? Oh, of course you can. This is one, this is one. He picked one and he started to invest for a child that he doesn't even know the mother yet. Talk about thinking. I know of Pastor Matthew's story. He is a grandfather right now. When his children, his two sons got married, he gave them an apartment, gave them house. He didn't stop there. He had made a vow to God that if the Lord prospers him, he is going to train his grandchildren. As we speak, his children are not paying their children's school fees. Grandpa is sorting their school fees. That's what I want to be. I don't want to be a kind of parent that will be waiting for my child before I can survive. Is it their fault? No, they didn't know better, but you have the opportunity. Yet you're repeating the same mistakes they made. You don't like the fact that you came from a humble beginning, but you're not doing anything to break that pattern. You are you know what they call, it is said often that what they call generational curses is mostly generational pattern, character pattern, attitude. We just keep making the same choices with our money. And we don't really blame you because that's what you're exposed to. Habits are one of the hardest things to break. It's going to take you a lot to break a habit, right? But you need to be conscious of how you can break it. And that's why financial literacy, this constant support that you're having, can help. So, like they said, rich people, the difference between the rich and the poor is that rich people, sorry about the knocking office. Rich people, yes, they get inspired and take action, but poor people get inspired and do nothing. That's the difference. So I really do hope that listening to this, you will start thinking about when you're 60, when you're 70, what do you want to put in place? Very, very important. We don't have to repeat those evil, negative or bad or wrong parental patterns. If they knew better, they would have done better. So we don't blame them. But you can take your destiny in your hands with God's help and change the trajectory of things and making better choices. At least you have a better job. So use it wisely. And guess what? Planning for retirement, it just requires some years of sacrifice. Before long, you are free and you can spend as much as you want. I hope the knocking is not disturbing us too much. Sorry about that. Upstairs, there's barely anything I can do. I think someone has gone to please help us beg them. All right, so that's number 2. Please, I want us to type in the comment section number 1 and number 2. If you started with us, please, what are those mistakes that we must not make? Number 1. And then number 2. I need to know we're following me. Number 1 mistake, and then number 2. What should we avoid? Please, let's talk about it. So the mindset that, oh, when I'm old, my children will take care of me, we need to dump it. We need to dump it, right? We need to dump it. Oh, when I get old, my children will sort me out, I'll be fine. Please, let's dump it. Let's be the kind that would even take care. You know, there's some people that I read the story about Rockefeller, and once you're born into the family, you're rich. As they give birth to you within that family, you're rich. That's what I want to be. And I believe that that's what you want to be as well. So let's not make the mistake that we're not planning for retirement. I'm not thinking about it now. It's just about no. It's a very costly mistake. And if you have a parent that is struggling, you know that this has affected them. It could cost you, we said 10 years, this one could cost you 20, 30 years of the future, and you don't want to have that experience. So please, as a financial literacy advocate, we're asking that you should think about retirement from now. I don't care if you're 21 years old, if you're 18, if you're 20, if you're 40, start thinking about it. Now, where you will invest your money will vary based on your age, and that's where advisory comes in. Don't jump on your own. But regardless of your age, let's start thinking about the future. Yes, thank you very much, Victor. Lack of a financial plan and then retirement plan. Great. So let's look at number 3. So number 3 for me is lack of an emergency fund. A lot of people get into the beginning, let me put it this way. The beginning of the financial mess that people get into is actually this problem. If you look at it, if you've ever borrowed money, the starting point was the fact that you never had savings when something came up that was urgent. and you've exhausted all your friends' benefits, you've borrowed over and over from them and you didn't pay back. So you didn't want to go to them again. You had to go to a loan company. And that was the beginning of your spiral downwards financially. So building an emergency fund is a very important aspect of finance. So what do? Your emergency fund is 3 to 6 months of your cost of living. Uh, I always recommend 6 months because COVID lasted that much and even longer. So if you can build a 1 year emergency fund, why not? If you can build a solid emergency fund of maybe 10, 3 years, why not? If you want to do 10 years, it depends on how financially buoyant you are. Please go ahead. But the truth is, this is always the beginning of the problem for a lot of people. You're working, you're not setting anything aside for emergency. It is wrong. What are emergencies? Emergencies are things that could happen that we don't know when, but we know they may happen. We can't just put a time. That's the only thing. What's the difference between your emergency and a need? Or is because those ones are timed. You know when you need to pay school fees. You know when you need to pay your rent. So you know when those will happen. But for an emergency, you don't know when. Nobody knew COVID would hit. And so when it hit, we needed to do something quickly about it. But guess what? If you didn't have an emergency fund, it must have taken God alone to help you survive that period. Because everybody was literally at home, especially a salary earner. So some people even lost their jobs at this time. So building your emergency fund is very pivotal, whether you're single, whether you're married, even more important. 3 to 6 months of your cost of living. How do I know my cost of living? Your cost of living is the amount that you need to live. Let me put it that way. So if anything goes wrong, for example, in times of inflation like this, we live at the barest, people live at the barest minimum of their cost of living. They cut off excesses without being taught financial literacy. People know that, you know what, I can't run around anymore like I used to because the subsidy has been removed, and now the tariff for electricity has jumped from maybe less than 100 naira to over 200 naira. Yeah, so you know that some things have to go. Nobody had to tell you that, right? So that amount that you spend right now, times 3 or times 6, save it up. It's your first financial goal when you're just starting out. Save it up so that if anything happens, you can sustain yourself for the next 6 months while you look for another job or you source for other sources of income. But why would you be working and you can't pay an emergency of 100,000 or 200,000? It's not a great place to be. So please, building your emergency fund is very important. So that's number 3. Now, this is a very costly mistake because if you don't, you will borrow money when there is an emergency. And the moment you get on that path, it is very hard to turn down. Let me share something with you about all this debt, and I'm going to talk about it very soon, living on debt and all of that. There is a pressure from the financial system to make you take loans. I was in a training recently and I showed them my phone. I have this investment with a particular asset management firm. And I also have an account with the bank. So they sync. It's the same app. You have the investments there and then my normal bank account. Guess what? Once I log in, I wish I could take my phone and show you guys. Once I log into that platform, whatever it is I want to do, the first thing I see is you can get a loan up to 20 million based on my limit of investments with them. So I don't know what the basis for 20 million was, but they say I can get a loan up to 20 million. Now, every time I log in, that's what I see. In fact, they've taken it further right now by sending me emails. They tell me things like, you don't need to withdraw from your investment, just take a loan to meet that need. Just take a loan. Every other day, I see the email. And I'm just laughing. I'm like, this is how they get people. Because if I wasn't a financial advisor and someone who is against loans and all of that, I'll probably have taken it. I mean, what's the big deal after I have money with them? I could take money and we pay it. I mean, that's the collateral. Very cheap loans, easy to get a loan. But I'm not going to do that because that's not what I teach. And I don't need it. So it's that bad today that they will. Who is this person that said this now? He's like, you're very funny, it's so disturbing. It's in your face all the time. So you need to be very wary of it. So you cannot afford to get on that path. So if they keep luring you the way they've been luring me, and I fall in like this, that's it. It becomes a cycle that could cost you the next 10 years. You are in and out of loans, paying for one thing or the other, paying for one thing or the other, non-stop. So we really need to put our emergency fund in place, which is like a safeguard against falling for those loans. Because if you have your emergency fund in place, you won't need to borrow when there's an emergency. And if you don't need to borrow and you already have a system of saving money for your emergencies, you'll be fine. Even through the inflationary times, you'll be fine. It just takes discipline. Guess what? Tough times don't last, tough people do. This season might just be an opportunity for us all to make money. So that's number 3. Number 4 is careless spending. Lack of regard for little or small expenses. This one is big. Even I am guilty of it sometimes. But I've been able to see how little money can accumulate to something big over a short period of time. I remember when I was at the bank, we started critical mass account opening. In other words, everybody come. The bank wasn't like that before. You have to have 250,000 to have an account. At some point, it was 500,000 and all that. But after some time, because of course, changes in the market, they had to evolve as well. And so everybody come. So zero balance. So we went to all these women buying yam in front of the office, buying big cake and all those things. And then you open account for them. And every day, that woman, after saying to us, we just call me 2,000, 1,000. The day that she does very well, 5,000, and on like that. And in our very eyes, these women had hundreds of thousands saved up. And they'll be telling you, I'm paying school fees for my son. No, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I'm thinking, wow. From this business, bankers are there looking down on them. That's the funniest part. When they come to check balances, they treat them somehow. Those men should stand while the rich should sit. Yet, those women had more balances than the so-called bankers because we're all broke. Till now, they're like that. Broke. But you look down on the person who is industrious and saving money, who has more financial discipline than you. Bankers who don't know how to manage money. What an irony. But that's where a lot of us were, and a lot of them still are. So these women in a little while had hundreds of thousands from just even 2K here, 1K here, 2K here. Interestingly, we have apps today that help you to save those little amounts. So you don't have to spend them. But much more than saving them is monitoring them. 5,000 here. My husband was still telling me because our son's birthday is today and we wanted to buy plenty things. The girl was saying, no, we're not buying anything unnecessary. It's unnecessary and there's no need to buy it. And he's right. So you need to watch those unnecessary expenses, right? Great fortunes are often, this is something I saw online. It says great fortunes are often lost $1 or ₦1 at a time. Yeah. So for some of us, we're probably spending the money we should buy land with in the next 5 years. We're spending it on suya every Friday. We're spending it on hanging out here and there. It's just a little moment of sacrifice that even I am beginning to think about seriously now because you just keep waiting for that big money. I'm waiting for the big money. Has it come yet? Has it come? Because you've worked 5 years now. You've worked 6 years now, 10 years now, and we still don't have that big money. Does it tell you something that That big money will come from the little money that you have today, that you put aside consistently over a period of time. Does it tell you all something? Because that's what it's telling me. That small money is actually the miracle you've been waiting for. There's no magic in tomorrow that you don't create today. So don't expect some bulk money to just land on your laps in the future, particularly if you're financially indisciplined, disorganized, you don't live on a plan, you don't have anything. No, you're just earn it all and spend it all, and you're waiting for one magic. It's not going to happen. Even if it happens, you will lose it all. I was still watching a Dave Ramsey show recently because that's my mentor. And he was saying that they showed a guy came up and said, oh, he won a lottery, $2 million 2 years ago. And he was broke as at the time of the call, 2024. Broke, $2 million. So when we don't build the principles that create wealth, it doesn't matter if one person appears and dashes you big money, you won't manage it well. That's the truth, because you already have 4 financial choices that should sustain that wealth. So I always tell people that thank you very much. I always tell people that the wealth transfer to the next generation is not just the transfer of money to them is good. It is also the transfer of the principles that created that wealth in the first place. Otherwise, there will be no real transfer. They will get the money and squander it, and then they can't pass it on to their children. But as you pass on that money to them, make sure you're also passing on the principles, because that's what will sustain the wealth within the family. So great fortunes are often lost 1 naira at a time, $1 at a time, depending on the currency of where you live in. Benjamin Franklin says this: beware of little expenses. A small leak will sink a ship. You see that big ship, mighty on the sea, like a miracle that we behold on the sea. A tiny leak like this, just give it some time. It may last for weeks on the water and not sink. But if that leak, that tiny leak, is not attended to, in a matter of time, that ship will go down. So we need to be mindful of little expenses. I tell you the truth, little money accumulates in a short time. In a short time, before you realize it, it is a lot of money. Now, let me give you something. You go on year without any savings, without any investments. How about 1,000 naira saved a day throughout the rest days of this year? Let's say we have 9 more months. 9 times 30 is 180 days. If you save 1,000 a day, that's like 180,000. Now, it sounds small in today's economy, but isn't it better if you end with 180,000 than with nothing? And that 180,000 came from a little amount, like 1,000 you put aside daily. Little amounts, they said a drop of ocean little drops make an ocean eventually. Why? You keep adding to it. Sorry to speak that language, but if you're Yoruba here, you understand. If you're not adding to money, it will finish. You must always be adding. So 1,000 today, add another 1,000. Before you know, you have 5,000, you have 10,000, and it accumulates too much. So we need to all wake up to the consciousness of little expenses. What you can do is, instead of spending it, let me save it. If you need to use a piggy, please go ahead. Inflation, yes, we understand. They have different places. Saving money is different from investing money. I'd rather have my 200,000 in that piggy bank where I kept it, saved up at the end of the year, than put it on a platform that I can spend it easy. Whatever it is that not have it at all. So start from somewhere. We need to pay attention to small everyday costs. Ice cream here, suya here, this here, particularly now. Do you know when we went out to buy balloons for the kids, for our son today, and I'm thinking, what did we buy? I'm telling you, just balloons, 60-something thousand naira, just balloons, just balloons. Well, because we're using helium and the cost of helium has gone up. When I heard 67,000, I almost told my husband, oh, yeah, 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 give them their value. But really, everything, the price of everything is gone up. Yet your income has not gone up like that, commensurate. So you know that on your own, you need to wake up and wisen up. Be money wise, right? So let's quickly move on to the next one. Let me say this before we go on. Pay attention to small everyday costs. They count. Don't trivialize them. And then it will help you avoid financial troubles down the road ahead. Does this little expense have impact in the future? Of course. The same way those ladies were saving 1,000 today, 2,000 today, 3,000 today, 5,000 today. And at the end of a few months, they had hundreds and hundreds of thousands, right? The same way it had a future impact, saving little monies, is the same way spending and disregarding those little expenses have an impact on your financial future. You will be without money a lot, if you don't build discipline to save. That's why I always recommend, even if your salary is 5,000 and you're watching this, save something, even if it's 500, save it. Because it's not going to, that 5,000 wouldn't have covered your expense anyway. So just save something. If they give you an extra 5,000, you will say, when I get more money, I will save. But the truth is, when that 5,000 comes, your expenses are still there and they keep growing big like this, opening mouths to collect your money. So there's no time where you're not going to need to save regardless of the financial situation. So please embrace it. And then quickly, I'll go on to the next one, which is lack of a spending plan, which is a budget. There are a lot of financial troubles you'll avoid if you make a budget. You can come out of debt just by budgeting. That mess you're in now. A budget, just sitting down and planning how your money will be spent, will save you. So embrace budgeting. How does not making a budget affect my financial future? You already know how, because right now you don't have money and you are not budgeting. If we check, I apologize to those who are doing all that they're supposed to do and are still facing challenges. We all go through a process. But you have not been budgeting for years and you are struggling with money. Perhaps you need to change your inputs so you can see different outputs. Because the results you're seeing financially is a function of your inputs over the years. I'm always hard on myself like that as well. When I don't have money, I know that I'm not doing something. Because money is a result, is a consequence. It's an aftermath, it's an outcome. It's not the input, it's not the cause, it is an effect. Right? So what is your input that will determine your output? You might be scratching my computer screen now, but you can't adjust my hair. I'm the only one that can adjust this hair. Why? And the input, what you see on your other end, is the output. So won't it be foolish for you to be trying to change my hair from your computer screen when you really can't change it? If you like, try from now to tomorrow, you can't adjust my hair for me through the screen. I am the only one that can adjust this hair because I am the input of what you see. So chasing after money doesn't help you. For those who think, that my salary is just 200K in my head, I don't spend them. I don't need to write it down. No, you're wrong. You need to write it down. Because the moment you write it down, that's when you see areas of where you're overspending. That's where you see it. Also, you can prioritize your spending. What comes first to me? What should I focus on now? And every time you're making a budget, your mind is clear, so you are not on pressure. That's why I recommend that you make your budget when the money has not landed. Because once it lands, all of us, even being, we're itching to spend. But if you tell your money exactly where you want it to go, you won't be looking for it. You won't be wondering where it went. You sent it. It's like sending someone, your son, to buy something, and you're wondering, where did this guy go? Oh, mommy, you just sent him to go and buy, and you're like, oh, okay. Unlike, where did he go? Because you didn't send him anywhere. If you're not sending your money on an errand, you always wonder where it went. So it's time for us to start sending our money on errands. Now, this is costly again. If you're not someone who makes a budget, you can feel the impact. That's why you don't have savings, because you know why? When you make a budget, after God, the next person you pay is yourself. So when you're a person who is disciplined to make a budget, you have savings. That emergency fund we talk about, you will have it because you pay yourself, then you consider other bills. So you don't save what is left after spending. You spend what is left after saving. So you already feel the impact. So why don't you change the inputs so you can see a different outcome? Make a budget. Just tell your money where to go. That's what it means. Tell your money what you want it to achieve. Next one would be living in debt or spending on things you cannot afford. I like to put it like that because we don't want to hear about debt these days. It's the norm right now. But according to my mentor, debt is dumb. Cash is king. And it says that normal today is broke. So beware. It's okay for you. You know, there's a way that you're trying to do something right. And everybody around you is looking like you at you like you are the one who is wrong. Yeah, that's the world we live in today. So normal today is actually broke. That friend of yours that is always hanging out every Friday, go and check. He has no investment. That family person that is always calling you, spend traveling for vacation every year on the salary, go and check. You're going on a loan. Normal is broke. For you to have uncommon results financially, you need to be aware, right? You need to be aware. And then, so buying, for example, don't buy a car that is too expensive. Don't buy things you cannot afford. How do I know things that I cannot afford? Very simple. If you can't pay cash for it, you can't afford it yet. Please take note of the word yet, right? If you can't pay cash for it, you can't afford it yet. Does it mean you will not be able to afford it? No, you will eventually in the future if you just do things right now. Don't kill the goose that is laying the golden egg. Don't spend the capital of your money. Spend the return, grandchildren or great grandchildren. I love this Chinese quote a lot that says that rich people think 3 generations, but poor people think Saturday night or Friday night, whichever one works for you. So let's not get ahead of ourselves and say, why wait when you can get it now? That's the marketing gimmicks today. You can get that MBA now. You can buy that car now. You can own that shoe now, that phone now, everything on credit. You can't afford it yet. If you can't pay cash for it, you can't afford it yet. So be careful of buying things that you cannot afford yet. Spend cash on what you can afford. So if your money can only get you a Tokumbo car, that's what you should go for. You don't have to buy a brand new car. There are a lot of researches online about how wealthy people don't drive the biggest of cars that we see other people drive. It doesn't mean you should do it, but it's not a yardstick or a measure for your success financially. Things are not. Actually, they are not. Assets are. Investments are. Things are not. So we need to be very careful of the comparison and the pressure we get online and from friends and family that makes us want to buy things that we cannot afford yet. The key word is yet. You just can't afford it now. It doesn't mean you can get it in 3 years, in 4 years' time. It doesn't mean. That's the truth. So we need to be careful with that. Don't go on vacation on loans, please. Don't. Don't have your wedding on a credit. Don't. They are foolish decisions. I've been there. Don't do those things. They affect the future. How do you get married on a credit and then the marriage is already breaking up 1 year into it and you guys are still paying the loan? Who will pay it? Becomes a question. Very complicated place to be. Apart from that, assuming the marriage is working, the money you keep returning on those loans will be monies that you could have used to have a proper wedding in the next 5 years after marriage. Perhaps you didn't have a good one the way you wanted it when you were getting married. No pressure. I like the fact that these days people just show up married. On Thursday, they married. On Thursday, they married. Some people get married and they just share takeaway pack. Everybody go to your house. I don't want to rent a space for 3 million that I cannot afford yet. And I want to get married. So what is priority? Let's have it now. People renew their vows after some time, once they can afford to. Please, let's not do beyond what we can afford. The summary is live within your means. While you're working on expanding your means, don't stay at that level, but live within. There should be no pressure why you want to prove anything to anybody. Nobody should question how you spend your money actually, because you're not borrowing it from them. So if anybody is putting you on pressure, stay away from them. So don't spend money on things you cannot afford. It's affecting your future. You just don't know. Look at what it is doing. You haven't earned the money, but you're already spending it. What if you're not able to earn it? And secondly, as you earn it, what if you could do something with that money, maybe create wealth with it in another form, rather than you've not worked for something, you're already spending from it, the future. You're robbing your future. I have this quote that I always say that it's okay to dress like your future. You know, people tell you, dress like your future, you want to go, look like it. It's okay to dress like that future, but not at the expense of that future. I want to look like my future, dress like it, but don't do it at the expense of that future. Your future self should come and give you a handshake after some years. So whatever you need to do right now, please do it. Don't spend money on things you can afford. You don't have to live in Maitama. You don't have to live in Lekki. You just need to be comfortable where you live. Do your calculation. As long as the location is cost effective, amazing. I'm at the office right now. My house is just like 3 minutes away. School is about 10 minutes away, maybe 15. It's not up to 15 if there's no traffic. Everything is around. Church is just like 6 minutes away. Everything is around. Is around me. So I may not leave this environment for a long time because there's really no need for it. So make choices like that. I can never forget how I got to have an office around the house. I was looking for an office far away, so I met somebody there, a very successful man who would normally not talk to me, and I'll just greet and pass. But this particular day, he saw me at the complex I was searching in town, and he said, "Oh, what are you doing here? Oh, I'm looking to get an office, blah blah blah." He says, "Oh, nice. Just make sure that office is not far from home." In my mind, I'm like, why are you not saying that you want to give me some money for this, support me for this office mission? Which kind of advice is this? But honestly, that advice I think it's number one in terms of when making decisions regarding where your office should be, your work around you. Only when you cannot help it. But where you can help it, everything should be around. It's cheaper and it's better for you. It's easier. So don't spend on what you can not afford. All right, so I'm almost done. We'll soon be done. The next one is investing blindly. And that's the last one that I'm going to talk about. Investing blindly. I remember I can't remember the year, don't let me guess, but I had not, I wasn't a new employee. Maybe I'd done 2, 3 years on the job, and there was this craze for all these lands you can buy in installments. I just, pay over some time. I mean, they targeted bankers a lot because of the consistency of the income and all of that. They knew they could get their money over time. So it was an easy catch for them. So they would do this installment payments for you, they spread it. Of course, it was a what do you call it? It was a craze. it was happening. It was a lot trendy thing. So it bandwagon effect. That's the word. I jumped on it as well. And then I bought this land on the outskirts somewhere in Lagos. Let's assume that I did that. If it was 3 years after my work, that would be 2009. This is 2024. And that land, I still don't have it today. I paid fully for it. I paid legal. I paid everything. I don't even know where the land is. The company, I can't reach them. I have tried everything for them to, the area. Till today, that area has not been developed. Why? Because I invested blindly. Blindly. What should I have done differently? Investigate before investing. What is the location of this land? Can I see it? I go and check it out. And then I check it out. I find out the location. And then I see if it's on the path of development. I just didn't have the understanding. That's why financial literacy, what we're doing today, is important. So we need to stop investing blindly. A lot of you here may have lost money. Some of you maybe may have lost money to investing and crowdfunding people's business. Someone just comes on social media and says, invest with our company and you get 30%. And then you invest and COVID hits and the money is down. I can't forget the guy who told me 3 of them, they came together and put about 1 million together. They want transportation business like that. You know, people just come up with ideas. They think because they see Okada running around is a successful business. So they wanted to do it and then boom, they invested in the company and it's done. A number of people have come to me how the craft invested in a particular business, 7 million here. There's a lady, about 15 million. She gave to a company who was returning 30%. As we speak, the money is gone. Meanwhile, the next year, of course, because she's learned, she came to me, booked for my annual coaching. And that year, after that 1 year of about 1 year now, because she enrolled last year, March, this year, March makes it a year. What did she do this year? She bought an estate. Someone was selling on this distress. She bought an estate. Monies that last just a year ago, she lost that amount of money because she works in a very good place and the money is usually a huge chunk. So we need to stop investing blindly. Ask questions, not from the person sending you the investment, from an advisor, a mentor, someone you know has walked the path and can guide you. Because if you come to me, if I'm the one selling house to you, and you tell me, is it good? I'll say, yes, what do you expect? So is the location good? What will I say? Yes. And it's what you say. I remember going to visit a site. The way they painted it, if I had paid on the spot and I saw it afterward, I would have slapped the person with anger. By the time we got there, we were going and going. I'm like, is it? Why can't you just be truthful? They know that if they are, you're not likely to buy. So don't invest blindly anymore. Does it mean you can't crowdfund businesses? Please do. I can crowdfund my business. I believe that crowdfunding can be done successfully in Nigeria. If you look at a lot of crowdfunding that is failing, platforms and the likes that are failing, it is not the fact that people crowdfunded them. It is the fact that the people themselves lack integrity. So I'll be able to crowdfund. I will not mind my business being crowdfunded, even if I would do 1 million people or anybody. I can limit it to maybe 50 people, 30 people, but I can comfortably do that. Why? Integrity. Since I started to talk on money, I've had a lot of offers for people to give me job. You know, as you're listening now, you're just saying, hey, why can't this woman just tell us to bring our money? I've had a lot of offers like that. And I could have taken them. But I knew that we didn't have the structure and system yet. But we're almost there with our financial technology platform, FinTech, where you can save and invest. And we're going to launch that very soon. But invest, don't invest blindly anymore. Just Google about that investment, that opportunity. We have a product called Verify by MoneyWise. What we do is we can help you verify. And I would like to round off by sharing this experience I had verifying a project for a particular client in Lagos. So this client reached out and said he wanted to buy land in Lagos. And I said, oh, commercial area, why not? So what do you need me for? The agents who sell land. Where do I come in? Oh, yeah, I want you to verify it properly for me because agents, they are most of the time after their commission, right? They know if they sell, they get 10% of the money. So they're always in a rush to sell. So where I come in is that rush, I will kill it for them in them. They will get tired because this is money we're talking about, someone's hard work. And so I set out to do this assignment. I was in Lagos many times. We went all the way, found the location, and he was considering it. And the money was we come to about 70, 80 million, and he was considering it. And we had gotten to the point where we were now meeting. We got the documents, we verified legally, and Lagos registry. The search was successful. We went ahead to do even the survey of the place. And we put the pegs in every location, blah blah. And we were just, doing everything. Everything looked clean. But I am a Christian and I believe in God. So I had to pray about it. And because at that point we were ready to deal. The only final step was for us to go meet one of the signatories who is a king and would not travel. You have to go there and meet him. So all the family members, in fact, we had sent transportation costs to them because it was in Ogun State. I was in Lagos at the time, and so we had sent over 150,000 for everybody to travel down and we go see this king. And the plan was that once we're there and he signs off and we verify his identity, because we requested everyone to bring their ID, and that was what we should see. While I'm there, the client will just pay for them. But I remember the day before that, I prayed. I said, I haven't been paid a time on this assignment. Of course, they paid for my ticket on the trip and all, but I have not in any form collected any fee. So I'm not ready for money. I just want to get it right for my clients. Please help me. If this land is strong, please step in. I don't know. Please just step in. And so I think while I was praying, an angel visited the agent in his house, and something just woke him up very early the day before we traveled, the day we were going to travel, very early in the morning. He went to that land location by himself. Nobody went with him. And so on getting there, he sees a woman sitting down on this outskirts and bushy area, wondering what she's doing there. And then the woman says, it just felt like talking to her, like, oh, madam, I'm planning to buy land around this place. What do you think? And blah, blah, blah. And the woman was like, she had a smartphone. I was like, don't try it. Don't try it. Brought out her smartphone and went to a particular link and showed him the issue with the land. That land has been sold over and over and over. Multiple people own it. A land that we searched your Lagos registry. We verified identity to your ID. You must provide a valid ID with the name on the document. It's managed by community. So there are two stages of verification. There's the community executors and then the real owners, the owners, the family that owns it. So don't try it. The dispute on the land is hot. And somehow it was public news. But how do you go on social media and be good? You want to Google about the land you're buying? It will not cross your mind. That's how I said, oh yeah. Please, we're not traveling again. You see that money that I gave you people for transportation? I dash you 100,000, 150,000 or so compared to 80 million. Thank you very much. And that was the end of the transaction. I just called it off immediately. Everybody went home peaceful. At some point, the agent was like, Madam, thank God for slowing us down. Oh, because by now we would have taken commission and then the commission will hook our neck because we just wanted to sell. Thank you for slowing us down. So don't invest blindly. It may cost you extra. The client had to pay for my flight multiple times to Lagos. He had to pay the family for the trip, different things. We did search, we did all the stuff he had to pay. So maybe all in all, he probably spent about £1 million now, but that's okay compared to losing 80 million still. So don't invest blind. All right, I think I see some questions. Thank you everyone for listening. I'm glad you're here. Let me see the questions. So, ma'am, you said that age determines where one can invest. I'm in my 30s, where can I invest? Age determines your 30s, you still have time. So we can take risks. That's where age comes in. The level of risk you can take, it depends on how old you are. I can't invest in some things that an 18-year, even at 30, there are certain things you can't invest in that an 18-year-old will be able to. It's probably just still, he still has a lot of time to play around with money. So if the person that is 50 is nearing retirement, cannot carry and say, I want to go and take all the risks. No, they want to preserve as much of their money as possible. So it would vary based on your age. So you can invest in different areas. You're in the community, so and I have a session with you on Friday, so we can talk more in details about where you should put your money when we have that session. So, but you don't just jump to invest. How old you are, what load of responsibility you have will determine how you invest and everything. So please, can we have a rundown on what we've talked about today? I started with talking about how the mistakes we made today can have a long-term impact on our finance. And I mentioned an example of how that being poor with money over the years actually took a toll on my finances 8 years into my work experience. I was always broke, I was always in lack, and I was swamped in debt, stressed out about money all of the time. So the choices you're making with your finances today is okay. Someone will respond to you, please. Yeah. So the choices you're making today with your finance has a future impact. It could be as 10 years as far as 10 years into the future if you're not careful to choose right today. Some can just get into debt and that will become a pattern that they will struggle for so long to come out of. So it has impact. Now, what are some of those mistakes and how do we avoid them? We talked about it. And the first one we said was lack of a financial plan. You should have a financial plan. You should have a retirement plan. You should also have an emergency fund. We talked about careless spending, which is lack of regard for little expenses. We talked about lack of a spending plan. We talked about living in debt or spending on things you cannot afford. We talked about investing blindly, and that's a wrap. So I'd like to appreciate everyone here. Please says she can't join in. Is anybody there trying to join the community via the link posted here? Oh, you may be in the community. So please, they'll engage you in the DM. Thank you, everyone. Please, if this has been helpful, let us know in the comments. Thank you so much for your time. We'll be here again on Thursday to talk about something else. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I appreciate everybody. Have a lovely evening. Bye. Um, okay, this our IG post, Joy, our IG post should always have this. I've said it before. Where's Joy? Our IG post should always have this button. I said, you draw the line and put subscribe to our newsletter and watch our YouTube show here. And join our community, join our community for free. If you continue, subscribe to our newsletter, email newsletter, what did I just in our subscribe, watch our YouTube videos, watch our show answer your new question on YouTube. I want that with that thing under edit post. Or if you use your underscore, you can draw a line all the way and then put it. And it should be properly spaced. So I'll be ready so that we can just copy and paste. Except that there are changes. Like you can book a coaching session via normal website. Do you get? It's very important.
Years and that's it. But I said it would not. But there was no clear plan on how I intended to.
So I have not ended YouTube.